When was a narcissist in your life humbled to their core? When I was 12, my mom married Doug. At first, Doug played the perfect stepdad role. He brought me little gifts from his work trips, called me buddy when people were watching, and made my mom laugh in ways I hadn't seen since my real dad left. But the second guests went home or my mom stepped out, his face would change like a switch. Doug never hit me, but he had this way of making me feel like I was stupid for breathing. If I left a glass on the counter, he'd sigh and say, "Some people just don't have common sense." When I got excited about making varsity soccer, he'd mutter, "Must have been a weak year for tryouts." If I watched TV too loud, he'd walk over and turn it off without saying anything, then stare at me until I went to my room. The worst part was how my mom defended him. Whenever I tried telling her about it, she'd say Doug was just trying to help me grow up, and that I needed to stop being so sensitive. She'd remind me how lucky we were that Doug wanted to take care of us. By high school, I learned to just avoid him. I'd stay late at school for clubs, volunteer at the animal shelter on weekends, take long walks around the neighborhood, anything to not be home when he was there. But what Doug didn't know was that I'd started recording myself talking about my day. At first, it was just to vent, but then I realized I was documenting everything. I had videos of me crying after he told my friends I was book smart but life stupid, right in front of them. Recordings of me explaining how he threw away my science fair project because it was cluttering the garage. Hours of footage showing the bruises on my arms from where he'd grabbed me too hard when pulling me aside to lecture me about respect. After graduation, I got into college across the country and basically disappeared. Doug suddenly became the nicest guy ever through text messages. He'd send me motivational quotes and comment on my social media posts, saying how proud he was. I ignored most of it. 3 years later, I got this random email from a mental health organization saying they wanted to give me some youth advocacy award. Apparently, someone had shared my old video diary that I'd posted anonymously on a small YouTube channel. The videos about growing up with emotional abuse had gone semi-viral in therapy and parenting circles. My mom called me sobbing, saying Doug felt attacked and was threatening to sue me for lying about him. He kept saying I was making everything up for attention and that he'd been nothing but good to me. But here's the thing. When the organization asked for proof to validate my story for the award ceremony, I sent them everything. All the raw video files with timestamps and metadata. Years of documentation showing exactly what living with Doug was really like. Doug actually showed up to the award ceremony. He sat in the back with his arms crossed, probably expecting me to mention him by name so he could play the victim later. Instead, I got on stage and just told my story without naming anyone. I talked about what it's like to be a kid walking on eggshells in your own home. After my speech, people wouldn't stop coming up to me. One woman said her teenage son had lived through the exact same thing. A dad shook my hand and said I'd helped him recognize his own behavior. Another person thanked me for putting words to something they'd never been able to explain. Doug just sat there the whole time, watching person after person validate my experience. He didn't clap when I won. He didn't come up afterward. He just stood up quietly during the applause and walked out before anyone could talk to him. He never texted me again after that night, not even generic happy birthday messages, complete radio silence.